all may already know, but if you do not, my name is Raul Gonzalez. I am an economic development planner at MAPC. Um, I am here with my colleagues, Mark Drayson, our executive director, Carolina Prieto, as well as Rachel Marks. And we just want to share with you all some of the context of the region, as well as some resources. Additionally, this will be posted on the GARE portal. As this data demographic information shows, it's going to paint a picture that you may not be too unfamiliar with, but is something that I think is very important for us to set the stage for the region. So for those of you that don't know about us, MAPC is the regional planning agency serving the people who live and work in the 101 cities and towns of metropolitan Boston. Furthermore, our region is split into 8 subregions, pictured here. It is one of the 12 Massachusetts regional planning agencies that serve citizens and local governments in the region by dealing with issues that cross city, town, county, and even state boundaries through communications, planning, policymaking, coordination, advocacy, and technical assistance. So let's just dive into some regional demographics. So here you see 2 maps. The one on the left displays the metropolitan area in the year 2000, and the one on the right, the MAPC region in the 2016 American Community Survey. In 2000, there were only 3 municipalities in the greater Boston region that were majority BIPOC, that is, Black, Indigenous, people of color, which were Boston and Chelsea within the MAPC region, and Lawrence in the Merrimack Valley. In the 2016 American Community Survey, 6 municipalities were majority BIPOC, with Lynn, Malden, Everett, and Randolph joining Chelsea and Boston, plus 8 that are approaching majority non-white status, including Revere and Framingham. So even with that being said, there are segregations within individual communities. Using MAPC's office building on 60 Temple Place in Boston as a center point, you can see large clusters of population by race, even in Boston, with Black populations centered in Roxbury, and let's see if that works right there, and Dorchester, Asian populations within Chinatown, Latinx populations within East Boston, and white populations in the Seaport. So we're going to take a little bit of time just to do a quick poll, and hopefully this poll everywhere poll works. If not, then we'll just use the chat box for a very brief way of entering a poll. But either by going online or using your phone, you can respond via pollev.com/remap poll 055 or text remap poll 055 to the number 22333 to join and text your message. What we'd like to know is how has segregation impacted your community? Standard text messaging rates apply. Our legal team always makes sure that we have to say that part. But I wanted to give everyone about a minute or two just to text or via the internet, put in some responses as to how segregation has impacted their community. And if someone said I texted it and it's not working, please let me know.
Into the chat. Oh, yeah.
Excuse me?
Was wondering if you could put the link in the chat. It says respond at pollev.com.
Sure. Could someone be able to do that to me as a presenter? I'm kind of a little bit limited in doing so.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Oh, Tech was on it. Thanks, Tech.
Sweet. Tech is always great with all of the tech issues.
Tech support.
So if you do text, it's 22333. And then put in remap poll 055. And if it doesn't work, we can certainly just put that within the chat. So long drives to work here, higher income, more suburban style neighborhoods. It's created many disparities. Segregation forces my children to grow up in a world that does not reflect society. So many ways, but clearly through the power dynamic of the city where municipal power lies, who utilizes it, who enjoys it. I don't get a chance to grow up in a diverse community. Oh my goodness, that is very substantial. And that is all very, very true. Deprivation of equal opportunities, suburban, white versus downtown BIPOC communities. Unintentional ignorance. That's something that I feel like we don't focus on sometimes. And it's unfortunate because, you know, I think people come in with good intentions, but are unaware as to how these barriers have existed in their communities and in society. These are all very excellent responses. Gentrification, that's a big one in the Boston region. So we can certainly put up these responses when we put the presentation within the portal. But thank you so much for everyone for providing their responses to this very important question. So moving on to how segregation exists in the region, particularly here, as you can see within the inner core, this map shows where people of color live on a scale from light orange to dark red, and where transit stops are located. Purple dots are T stops and green dots are bus stops. We can see visually what we may already know, and that is that more reliable transit underserves BIPOC populations. Furthermore, food insecurity, the state of being without reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food, is extensive in communities with large BIPOC populations, with places like Boston, Everett, Malden, and Randolph having areas where more than 15% of their population experiences food insecurity and food deserts are abound. And this is actually something that's just beyond difficult to express, but very, very common in our region. The dream of home ownership feels increasingly out of reach for many in the region. Every decade, the region becomes more racially and ethnically diverse, yet discrimination and segregation continue to impact residents of color in negative ways. The map on the left displays home purchase loans for the year 2015, with one dot representing a loan, and the color of the dot representing race and ethnicity. The data shows that successful residential mortgage applications for Black and Latinx applicants are concentrated in limited areas. In the MAPC region, Boston, Randolph, and Lynn account for 50% of total home purchase loans to Black borrowers, while Lynn, Boston, Revere, Chelsea, Everett, and Framingham account for 53% of home purchase loans to Latinx borrowers. Furthermore, to the right, the graph displays the homeownership disparity within the 5 counties that the region is located in. This shows the homeownership rate per household broken down by Latinx, Black, and white heads of household. As you can see, the white homeownership rate was overwhelmingly higher in Norfolk, Plymouth, Middlesex, and Essex counties compared to Black and Latinx homeownership. So even in Suffolk County, which is home to Boston, Chelsea, Revere, and Winthrop, the white homeownership rate was significantly higher than Black and Latinx households. Historical segregation and the relative affordability of different locations may explain some of this data. However, discrimination prior to the mortgage process, as you've heard in the previous video, by agents, neighbors, and sellers, as well as gentrification, may unfairly steer prospective homeowners of color to or away from specific locations. Buying a home is a cornerstone of building wealth in the United States, yet mortgage data shows Black and Latinx home loan applications in the MAPC region, even those with higher incomes, are denied at rates double that of white applicants. Planners, real estate professionals, lenders, advocates, and municipal officials have a legal and moral responsibility to assure that residents of color have opportunity to purchase a home in any part of the region they may choose. Additionally, long commutes can take a toll on low-income households. A worker in one of the orange tracks driving 30 miles round trip will spend $4,500 per year on car ownership, nearly 13% of the annual income for someone making $35,000 a year. In other words, the first hour of every workday goes to paying for the commute. And lastly, as you can see by the week of January 28th, 2021, there were almost 500,000 confirmed cases within the Commonwealth of COVID-19, or about 6% of the total population. Of the 10 communities that have had the most cases, 5, Boston, Lynn, Chelsea, and Everett, and as well as Malden, have been majority BIPOC communities. 4 of the 10 communities have over 30% BIPOC populations. Additionally, of the 10 communities with the highest positivity rates, that is, communities with the highest percentage of people who have tested positive for COVID-19, 4 were the majority BIPOC and 2 were over 30% BIPOC. So I'm going to move over to some equity resources that MAPC has for you to utilize throughout this program, and of course, whenever, and as always, MAPC is certainly a resource for data and information that you may need, particularly on racial equity, but of course, many other items as well. MAPC has a regional indicators project site that highlights the state of equity in the region. Additionally, using the interactive regional indicators website, you can access the indicators for every community within the MAPC region, including your own, highlighting BIPOC populations, racial disparities via birth weight, MCAS scores by race, household income, and unemployment rate by race. For example, using the unemployment rate by race, you can hover over a specific municipality. Let's just pick on Boston again, to see where it compares to the rest of the region when it comes to all races and ethnicities, or Asian, Black, Latino, and white. Additionally, you can select a race or ethnicity to see how the whole region compares to one another by utilizing clicking on the name of the race or ethnicity. Clerks, police officers, librarians, firefighters, teachers, municipal maintenance workers, and residents interact with these representatives of their communities quite often. And as you all may be aware, particularly through your REMAP applications and proposals, those representatives don't always reflect the gender and racial and ethnic diversity of our region. The people who work in the greater Boston cities and towns are overwhelmingly whiter and older than the communities or the region that they serve. For example, to the right, you can see the breakdown of police officers in the metro region by race and ethnicity, as well as sex. As you can see, the overwhelming number of police officers are white, pictured in light blue, and male, represented by the squares. The need for diversifying law enforcement and municipal government could shift workplace culture and foster more inclusive working environments. Representation of people of color and women among senior staff and management could show entry-level or mid-level employees that their career advancement is supported. Entry-level positions and jobs with fewer formal education requirements could provide expanded opportunities for those from disadvantaged backgrounds to access stable employment that pays a living wage. For these reasons, municipal workforce diversity along racial and ethnic, age, and gender lines is vital. It provides a wider range of perspectives, connections, and knowledge important for effective and equitable decision-making. Diversity alone is insufficient to overcoming structural racism, especially that structural racism that's embedded in land use, housing, policy, education, and law enforcement. Yet it is still essential. It is especially essential in our region with this great dichotomy that exists. Lastly, I just wanted to talk about some of the equity programs that are being currently created through our plans. MetroCom in 2050 is Greater Boston's next regional plan. It is an undertaking that involves multiple phases, topics, and ideas, and multiple people from throughout the region. It will include everything from policy recommendations to data analysis and guidance materials. Through it, we have focused on specific equity goals for the region, which are homes for everyone, climate change adaptation and mitigation, inclusive growth and mobility, dynamic and representative government, and the equity of wealth and health. We'd love for anyone who would like to be a part of this or learn more to reach out to us on that. Lastly, and something that's a little more, well, all of this is near and dear to my heart, but this is also near and dear to my heart. MAPC has been presented with an opportunity to create a regional economic development strategy called the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And as we in any government agency like to use, we use acronyms, so it's called the CEDS. This is through the U.S. Economic Development Administration, or EDA. The CED serves as both a guiding vision and a blueprint for economic growth of the region, and is a benchmark to which to measure growth and success. That being said, we really were intent in including racial equity within our current CEDs, especially with the creation of our economic development goals. It'll be guided by 3 distinct goals. One is that residents of the region achieve financial stability in order to withstand economic hardship. Goal 2 is that there's increased parity between the wealth of BIPOC populations and white people in the region. And goal 3 is that everyone in the region is able to access jobs, goods, and services close to their homes via affordable transportation options with shorter commutes and fewer transfers. The CEDS helps to guide MAPC's partnership with both EDA and local stakeholders in leveraging federal funds and private resources. And this is where we can advance the CEDS goals and objectives and better our region through that process. So that's all I have for our presentation from MAPC. So I'll stop sharing, but we can